Hello, Mr. Macher. Yes, this is Tyler Simpson from the Media Communications program at Full Sail. Thank you so much for giving me a call. Um, I I'm so glad I have a moment of your time. I don't want to take up too much of it, but I just want to give you a quick pitch of my project. It's called a generational vehicle. It's a commercial series, and I was really inspired by the fact that car companies try to act like their cars or their companies are infallible when they're not. And I think if they were more honest about how they represent their brand and their vehicles, that they would gain more loyal customers and probably more sales in the long run. So it starts out revolving a character called Alpha, or Hank. It doesn't really matter what he's called, but he's a man in the 60s with a wife and child. The child's about 10 years old then. He needs a car for work and for home, so he goes out and he buys a truck because he's a lumberjack. And so another character is the son. So the son is 10 about the time that the vehicle is purchased. So he grows up with the vehicle. He knows how reliable it is. He knows how to take care of it. And eventually the father dies, Alpha dies, and he passes the car on to Beta, the son. So Beta inherits the car and he takes good care of it, and he goes throughout life, and there's conflicts where the car pulls through. It finally cranks, in the cold when other cars won't. And so he grows up and raises children and passes the car on to the third generation. And so the story builds up and builds up and builds up over these generations of the car being taken care of and taking care of the people who own it. And it kind of ends with the son of the original character, Beta. He goes to the hospital, and so as he walks in, he sees the car there in the parking lot, and he takes the elevator up, and his son is having a baby. So he's like, oh, I wish my father were here to see this. So it kind of ties in all three generations into the last commercial, and you kind of it kind of pans out to see the original car and a new 2016 version of the car sitting next to it. And so you can see they both are reliable and will last generations. I have a great director lined up. Yes, sir. It's Pete Docter. He worked on Up, and I really liked his married life cinematic at the beginning. I kind of think that's a great thematic fit for this series of commercials, because I don't want any kind of soundtrack in. Quite the opposite. No soundtrack except for what's playing on the radio in the car. So you can kind of tie it in emotionally. It seems authentic. I really think that he's going to do a great job. We're shooting with a Canon 5D Mark III. Yes, sir. I really think it's going to work. The 24 frames per second video shooting, the 35 millimeter 1.4 aperture lens is going to be fantastic. It's going to make it really look authentic and kind of gritty, but not too gritty. It's going to look real. And that's what we want, because we want to appeal to the everyman. We're going to market it to the everyman. Everyone wants a car they can depend on, and everyone wants to be told the truth by the people selling them the car. So, we're going to have it in commercials, approximately 5 to 6, maybe 7 commercials, along with ads on billboards and in magazines, showing real life owners of the cars. So we'll have the 74-year-old Hank from Colorado who has a car, and I've decided to pitch this idea to Ford. So the man who has a Ford pickup truck that he bought in the 60s, and he can tell a story. Or Deborah, who had one, or Deborah whose father had one and passed it on to her. They can tell real life stories and give real life feedback to people wanting to buy these cars. Someone can't go back. Well, they can, but they can't go back and buy a new version or a new 1964 Ford pickup truck, but they can buy the 2016 Ford pickup truck. But we have to link those two things and show them that they're compatible. They're just as dependable as they were back then. And we can link those people's stories in along with that. Along with social media, I want to get, the CEO, the COO, the owner of the company. Everyone in Ford needs to be on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, answering, talking to people, telling people stories about how Ford cars have impacted their lives. And that's going to make a really strong impact. As for cross promotion, yes. As for cross promotion, I don't want it to be in any kind of TV shows. I don't want it to be cross promoted anywhere except real life, because we're trying to show that these cars are real and the people who drive them are real, and that if you take care of them, they're not infallible. They won't be perfect. They'll break down sometimes, but if you take care of them, they will last you for generations. I know that you get a lot of pitches every month, every day. Heck, you probably get a pitch an hour. You have 20 calls lined up after me, Mr. Macher, and I know that they're all going to be pretty tempting to make, but I believe that this series of commercials can not only change people's perceptions about vehicles today, but I believe it can also change the industry, the vehicle industry, for the better. I believe that if we can show other companies that being honest rather than flaunting the best parts of our cars, being honest in that if you take care of the cars and they're gonna be reliable and they're gonna last you ages, and I think that idea will catch on more than if you buy this car, you'll get all the women, you'll get all the money, you'll get all the fun, because that's not true, is it? Anyway, thank you, Mr. Macher. Please consider my project, and I look forward to working with you soon. Goodbye.